Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a heated exchange in the Senate Banking Committee as Senator John Kennedy questions HUD nominee Scott Turner. If you've been following the affordable housing crisis, you know that Washington keeps throwing billions of dollars at the problem, but homeownership keeps slipping further out of reach for everyday Americans. Senator Kennedy has some strong words on this issue, and Scott Turner, the former NFL player turned public servant, has an interesting perspective. Stick around. This is one discussion you don't want to miss. And before we jump in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on important political insights.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Turner, you have a very impressive resume and career.
Thank you, sir.
And I've enjoyed your testimony today. You will find that we in Washington, we never make the same mistake twice. We make it 3 or 4 times to make sure that we get it right. Now, I have been here 8 years. I have watched us, on a bipartisan basis, spend tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars on affordable housing. And the result is that 10 years ago, the average age of a first-time home buyer in America was 28. Today, it's 38. We're going backwards here. A house that cost 4 years ago $304,000, a lot of money, costs $423,000 today. Washington thinks it can command the tides of the housing market, and we can't.
Right.
State and local government have a lot more influence than we do, much more. And I have watched us give state and local government billions, and they gladly take the money, and nothing changes. Because a lot of folks, their home is their biggest investment. And they don't want affordable housing nearby. And some of them don't want any new housing nearby because of the pressure it puts on infrastructure. If we're serious about increasing housing starts in America, and I doubt this will happen because I don't think we in Washington have the oranges to do it. But we would turn to every state and say, look, we expect you to increase housing starts every year by 3%. Could be 2, could be 4, 3%. How you do it is your business. If you don't do it, we're going to cut by 1.5% all of the federal aid that we give to you, across the board. If you exceed the 3%, we'll give you an extra 1.5%. Canada's in the process of looking at this. Now you will see many in state and local governments have an epiphany. And they will get started looking at their zoning standards, looking at the set-asides and the setbacks, and have an honest conversation with their people. What do you think?
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. So appreciate our time together, and thank you for your thoughtfulness and your ingenuity and thought. You know, incentives do a lot. I know playing in the NFL, you always wanted to get incentives in your contract.
So does a stick.
Yes.
Stick does a lot.
Yeah,
too.
it does. You know, the incentives we had back in the day were a lot less than the incentives I see these players get now. But anyway, I think that returning that control back and encouraging innovativeness and encouraging that accountability back to the states, I think is a great idea. And I want to hear more about that with you, but I do believe that when we incentivize growth, we incentivize building, we incentivize, certain aspects when it comes to affordability, competition always brings out the best. And so I look forward to hearing more and working with you on that.
This isn't a question. Let me just give you an observation. You undoubtedly know this. One of the headwinds you're going to face now is the cost of insurance. I'm not talking just about flood. That's bad enough. I'm talking about fire and extended coverage. Under our chairman's leadership, Senator Rounds and I are working on a bill not just dealing with flood, but dealing with all casualties. We're going to have to face it. It's coming. We've all seen what's happening in California, but it's not just California. It's Appalachia, it's Florida, it's Louisiana, and we're going to have to address this. I'm not talking about government subsidies. I'm talking about setting up some sort of national program that invites as many people as possible to join so you can spread the risk, strict underwriting so that the premiums are not subsidized. And I hate to see the federal government get in the insurance business, but by God, it looks like we're going to have to, and I'm way over, but I used that extra time that Bernie gave me.
Thank you, Senator.
And 17 additional seconds. So you're right, he gave you extra time. Cortez Masto, exactly, who's counting.
First off, let's talk about the housing crisis. Senator Kennedy doesn't hold back. He points out that a decade ago, the average first-time homebuyer in America was 28. Today, it's 38. That's a whole extra decade of waiting to buy a home. Why? Because housing prices have skyrocketed. A home that cost $304,000 just 4 years ago is now over $423,000. Washington keeps spending tens of billions on affordable housing, yet the problem is only getting worse. So, what's really going on here? Who's benefiting from all this spending? Kennedy lays out a tough reality. Washington might love passing big spending bills, but state and local governments hold the real power when it comes to housing regulations. They take federal money, but do they actually make changes? Not really. Zoning laws, permitting delays, and NIMBY attitudes block new housing projects. Kennedy proposes a radical solution. What if the federal government incentivized states to increase housing starts by at least 3% annually? States that succeed get extra funding. States that fail, they lose federal aid. Sounds harsh, but would it work? Scott Turner seems to think it's worth discussing. Scott Turner, with his background in professional sports and public policy, brings an interesting take. He agrees that incentives matter. After all, in the NFL, performance bonuses drive players to go the extra mile. But so does the fear of losing out. A carrot and stick approach might be exactly what's needed to push states toward real reform. Should Washington start rewarding states that build more housing and cutting off those that drag their feet? Drop a comment below. Do you think federal incentives could actually fix this crisis? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.